Hey, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to do SpecDB modding on Gran Turismo 4. This is real internal game modding, so we're not dealing with external factors like panache codes or cheat engine or texture packs or anything like that. We're actually modifying the game itself, and there's a lot that you can do with it, so I want to show you guys how to do that today. So the first thing I'm going to say is that I'm only going to be covering the online public beta version of Gran Turismo 4 in this tutorial, and that is because this is only a single layer DVD and not a dual layer DVD. The retail releases that most people are familiar with are dual layer DVD ISOs, and because of that, the dual layer DVD makes it a lot more difficult. There's a lot more stuff you have to do, and it's just not worth it to bother with those versions, so online public beta only. In the description, there is a link to a public Discord server. It's public, anyone can join it. All you gotta do is just get set up on there and then go to the Gran Turismo 4 section, and there will be a pinned comment where you can download the online public beta version. So the online public beta is not hard to get. Just go download it from the Discord in the description and you'll be good. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So also in the description, there is this pack that I've included, and this is a pack that I've made myself, and this just contains all of the information and stuff that you need, all the links to all the tools that we're going to be using in this tutorial that you're going to need. So you can also see that I've split it into 4 chapters, and that's because there's just a lot to cover. This process is fairly complicated to get set up initially, and so I wanted to make sure that anybody that watches this tutorial and reads these written guides that I've written up inside of this pack, anyone who reads this stuff will be able to do it, will be able to figure out. It includes all of the individual steps that you need to do, all of the context of what we're doing and why we're doing it, and everything like that. So as long as you follow this tutorial to a T, you will be able to do it. So chapter 1, what do we do? Inside of this is just one text file. This is just kind of explaining everything. The only thing we need to take away from it is this directory right here. This is the directory that I'm going to use for the tutorial. If you want to use a different directory, by all means go ahead, but you will have to do a couple different things. You'll have to change a couple of the steps to match the directory you use. So just keep that in mind. So first thing we need to do is to create your GT4 modding directory. So I've chosen to put it on the root of the C drive just to make things kind of simple for the next tool that we're going to be using. So make a folder on your C drive called GT4 Modding. Then go inside of this folder, make another folder, and call this extracted _ISO. Okay, now go inside of this folder, and now what we want to do is to unpack this ISO and extract everything from it into this folder. So I use 7-zip, open archive, and then drag and drop all of these folders in here. If you don't have 7-zip, I would recommend that you just go get 7-zip. It's free. It's an essential tool for any Windows user anyway, so you should have it. But in any case, as long as you can get to this part where you have these folders and files in a folder right here, then you're all good. So next up, we need to take this particular file right here. This is the vol, and this is where all of the game's asset data is stored. So this is the one where all of the good stuff that we're looking to modify. This is where all the stuff is. So we need to decompress this. How do we do it? Well, there's a tool that will do that for us. So what we need to do is get this tool called GT4FS, and what we need to do is to take these files right here, and we need to copy and paste them into this folder with all of these game files in it. Okay? Now, listen up. This is a super important step. If you miss this, you're going to get stuck and you're not going to know what to do. What I'm about to do right now is what you're not supposed to do. So most people are going to click on this and think, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. So say Y for agree, and then we want to extract it, right? So extract like that, nothing happens. So the reason why that doesn't work is because this is not a GUI program. This is command line only. So what we have to do is we have to go old school. So what we have to do is go into command prompt and then navigate to this directory within command prompt. So open command prompt and then come over to this folder, click on this little folder icon right here. This will pop up, right click, copy, go to command prompt, and then hit Control V for paste, hit enter. Oh, sorry, I forgot that. Type CD space and then paste your directory in there. My bad. Now you're inside of this directory. So now what we need to do is grab our command from step 2, which is this right here. And the command is GT4FS space extract space -r space GT4.vol. Type that in there and then hit enter. And then you'll see that it's going to say extracting files from GT4.vol, and you'll see this extracted folder pop up. So we're going to go inside of this, and you'll see a few folders at first, and the amount of folders will start to grow and grow and grow. There's not that many folders, but just give it a couple minutes. Okay, it's done. You can tell it's done because this new line pops up where it's ready for you to type or whatever. And then you can also see this log file has 1900 kilobytes, and we can scroll all the way down here, and we can see that this bottom line is here, so we're all good there. For this tutorial, the only folder that we're going to be messing with is SpecDB, because currently this is the only tool that is publicly available that actually does anything really. There are a couple other like sound tools, but I think they're not really that useful. So what we want to do is make a new folder. So we're going to copy SpecDB, then come out of here, then make a new folder, and we're going to call this my mod. So we're going to do capital M, lowercase y, capital M, lowercase od, like this. Hit enter. Then go inside of this folder, then paste your SpecDB folder. And now my mod is going to serve as your modified files folder, and then extracted with all of this stuff in here is going to serve as your originals backup. So anytime that you want to modify something, within here, what you want to do is just copy it from extracted and then paste it into my mod, and this is where all of the stuff that you modify is going to go, and then that's the stuff that's going to get saved, overwritten on the vol, so to speak. So that way, I think the reason why we have to do it this way is because there's actually a limit on how much stuff that we can overwrite to the vol, or append to the vol rather. So if you try to append like all of this stuff to the vol, I think it doesn't work or something. So just make sure that you just have a modified folder like this, where it just has all your files that you actually modify, and only have that stuff in there. So we will need command prompt later, so just minimize it. Now it's time to actually modify the game itself. So this is where the fun part comes in. So the tool that I'm going to be covering today is the SpecDB editor. So all we need to do is install this. And if you're watching this video when it first comes out, the latest version is this particular executable right here. This one modified at 6/28/2022. So just open this one instead of this one. So just open this, and then this window will pop up. We want to hit File, Open SpecDB folder, and then we're going to navigate to it. So root of our C drive, GT4 Modding, extracted ISO, my mod, SpecDB, and then highlight this folder right here, this GT4 Premium folder. Hit select folder, and then you'll see all this stuff pop up. Now, for your first edit, you want to just do something really quick and obvious that you can easily get to inside of the game so that you can check to make sure it worked. I wouldn't recommend going hog wild, so to speak, and just modifying tons of stuff in here, because you want to make sure that you have your process down first, and then once you get that first edit done, then you can come back and start making more edits, and I'll show you how that works exactly. So for the tutorial, I am just going to modify the nitrous upgrade for the Acura RSX. And all I'm going to change is the price of it. So highlight the price like this, and then we can change it to whatever we want. I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to go off like that. And then make sure, this is a super important step. Do not forget this. Listen up. The current version of the spec database editor seems to have this weird quirk where it won't save your changes unless you highlight a new row like this first. So anytime you make a change, you know, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 like this, you always have to click off to a new row like this first. Because I guess the way it works is when you modify a cell and do this, it hasn't applied the new values yet, and it won't do it until you move to a new row like that. So make sure that you move to a new row before you save. So what I like to do is just kind of go like this, like this, just to cycle through a few rows to make absolutely sure that it's going to save. Because I've had a lot of issues with that, not realizing that that was the problem. It's just a weird quirk or bug or whatever it is. But anyway, so we're done with that. All we need to do is save, and then you should see table saved to right there. Alternatively, you could save as like this and save it to somewhere. We don't need to do that. Or we can come to File, Rebuild Current Table. That's the same thing as just save, and then save parts information, we don't care about that. And then these export to tables, we don't care about that. So we're good with the SpecDB editor. So just minimize it because we're going to want to come back to it. Okay, so we've modified our files. Now what do we do? Well, now it's time to come back into command prompt and grab our next command. And what this is going to do is this is going to actually append these modified files that we put into my mod and then apply them to the vol and overwrite to the vol. That way you have a modified vol that then has the modified files we put in. So all we need to do is just paste that command in there, and that's going to be GT4FS dash, or I'm sorry, GT4FS space pack dash append space dash R space, and then you're going to point to the directory where your vol is. Then you're going to do space dash A space, and then point to the directory where your modified files folder is. So just hit enter, and then a bunch of stuff is going to start coming up here in a second. There it goes. Okay, depending on how fast your hard drive is or solid state drive is, that'll make a huge difference on how fast this thing goes, but I have an SSD, so it's nice and fast. We are going to want to come back to this as well, so just minimize it. Okay, so now if we come back to here, you'll see that your vol file now has a new modified date, so 4/26/2023. So now we know that it's been modified. So now all we have to do is pack all of this stuff back into an ISO. So in this pack, I have already included the required IML and IMS file. You need this in order to pack the ISO correctly. Without it, the game just won't work for some reason. Well, I know why. It's because you have to maintain the original file order that the original game had. So, but you won't have to worry about trying to make these because they're already included. If you used a different directory that is not this exact directory that I am doing in this tutorial, you will have to just come in here quickly and use your notepad of choice, text editor of choice, and then just highlight this right here, copy it, then go to your find and replace window, paste that in there, and then just type whatever you have, and then hit replace all, and then save the IML file. And then that way it'll match up to your directory. But if you use this exact one, then you don't have to do that. So now we're done with that. The last thing is to actually pack this into an ISO so that we can play it. Currently, the only tool that we know that works perfectly is UltraISO, and technically this is paid software. However, in the description I've also included a cracked version if you want to download the cracked version. So we need the cracked version because the free version doesn't let us do the DVD 4.7 gigabyte setting that we need. It's limited to CD file size, which is useless. So anyway, inside of UltraISO, we're going to hit File, then go to Import IML, and then I'm just going to quickly drag and drop the IML and IMS files into here like this, and then I'm just going to double click on the IML, and then you'll see all of this stuff pop up. So, super important step, listen up. Every time we do this, we need to delete the vol like this. So we need to take it out of the list and then re-add it to the list. So we're going to take this vol, drag and drop it, put it in there. And this, I believe, is a requirement because you need to make sure that the file size and everything is exactly the same and everything like that. So make sure you do that part. But at that point, we are done. So now all we have to do is go to Save As and then save our ISO. And I'm just going to call this GT4 mods.iso. Now it's going to save and just wait for it to finish. And then we're going to minimize UltraISO. Once it's finished, we are ready to play. So now let's go to our emulator. Sure, I'll update. Okay. Since we're not trying to add this test game to our whole games list right here, all we need to do is just drag and drop it into the window like this. Oops. There we go. And then just let it load, and now we're just going to go check our changes that we made. Check my sound. Make sure I think that's okay. Good. All right. Now, if we remember, we changed the price of the NOS upgrade for the Acura RSX. So all we need to do is just equip an Acura RSX. I already have it equipped. So all we need to do is go to the tune shop and then engine, and then it should cost 1,234. Boom, there we go. So if you've made it this far, then congratulations, you've made a successful SpecDB edit. Now, the last thing we need to cover is how to make subsequent changes to the game so that you can actually, do something you actually want to do. So all we need to do is close PCSX2. Then we're going to open up one of our minimized programs. That is going to be the spec database editor. And then we can just pick up right where we left off. So I'm just going to modify this again. But at this point, you can go into anything in here and modify whatever you want. So I'm just going to change this again. And I'll just call this 9999 like this, tab, and then I'm just going to click on some new rows, whatever. Then I'm going to hit save. Also, important point, I believe that this program only saves the current table that you have open. So if you modify more than one table, you have to click save on each one. I think. So just keep that in mind. That's what I would do if I were to modify multiple tables in the same, in the same session, I suppose. But anyway, we saved it, so now we just minimize this again. Then we got to go back to command prompt and then re-append the vol again. So just hit the up arrow on your keyboard and then hit enter. And then it's going to do it again. This time it's going to have the updated files that we just did. So now we can minimize this again. Then go to UltraISO, delete your vol, re-add your vol, file, save as, and then you can either make a brand new ISO if you want, or just overwrite the original. I'm just going to overwrite the original, so just hit save. Give that a couple seconds. And we're good. So now we just open PSC SX2 back up again and drag and drop it into the window. Oops. And I'm going to try to fast forward this a little bit. All right. Now all we need to do is check it again. So this time it should cost 9,999 credits. Boom, there we go. So let's buy it, and we should also be able to take note that it actually does cost 9,999 credits. Pay attention to our credits here. And as you can see, it actually costed that much. So it's not just, we're not just changing how much it's saying it costs, we're changing how much it actually costs, which is great. So that is it. Any more changes that you want to make, you just got to follow that last little bit right there where you close it, go back to there, make whatever changes you want, go like this, save it, minimize it, command prompt, up arrow, enter. Done, minimize it, UltraISO, delete the vol, re-add the vol, file, save as, save it, couple seconds, reopen PCSX2, drag and drop your ISO, and then boot it back up again. It should be noted you should not be using save states when you're doing this, because if you save states, then you're not going to be always getting your modified files, because all that stuff is saved in memory. So always want to make sure that you boot up a brand new session every time. And there we go. So yep, that is all that we need to do. Thanks for watching.